Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel and a brand new video. In this week's video, we will be taking a look at how I built this linear rail sled system to flatten some large live edge slabs. This can be a great DIY style option if you don't have a large CNC or drum sander. And before we get started on the linear rail system, let me show you real quick what didn't work. I thought that I could use an alternative, cheaper option with some T-track sled and just some 4x4 posts. Unfortunately, there was just too much resistance in getting this sled system to slide. So anyway, if you're thinking of maybe a cheaper alternative using T-track rails rather than the linear rails, here is a quick demonstration of that, which I would not recommend whatsoever. I ended up considering this a waste of time, but anyway, here's a look at it so you don't have to waste your time like I did. So the concept of using a sled system is pretty simple, and that's why I thought that this T-track rail system would work. So all you really need is a flat plane, which can be the top of the workbench to set these rails on, and then some type of rail system or carriage that you can slide the router across the top, which will allow you to slide that the length and the width of the slab, essentially matching that flat plane that the rails are setting on. So I milled up some 4x4 posts, attached some T-track, and built a quick sled that would go over the top of that. And then here is a demo look at how this router sled will work. So you make one pass, move the sled just a little bit to overlap that last cut, and then repeat the cut until you finally have that on a flat plane. The T-track system does work, but it was just way too difficult to slide the router from left to right across the length of the slab. And that is exactly where these linear rails come into play. So these rails come in a variety of lengths. I think the ones I have here are about 7 feet long, but all it is a perfectly flat rail system with these blocks that have a bunch of ball bearings inside of them, allowing them to slide very easily across the linear rail. So the first set of linear rails will run the length of the slab, and then you need a second set of rails that will run the width of the slab that can slide on those ball bearing blocks that we put on the first set of rails. One thing that could be better about this rail system is that for some reason the holes on the blocks don't line up with the holes on the rails, so you'll have to make some type of template adapter to connect the two pieces. This is actually pretty easy to do. I just used some scrap plywood, marked the holes with the included bolts, and then those holes can be drilled out. Now there's probably several different ways that you could go about this. This was just the easiest and most simple way that I could think of to get this quickly thrown together. So in no time we had a quick adapter system for the ball bearing blocks. One thing that you'll need to make sure is that you recess those screws far enough down so they won't interfere with the rail that goes on top of that. And then this can just be slid in place on the first linear rail, which you can see slide very easily. Next, we can attach the second set of linear rails to those adapter blocks, and look how easy these slide compared to that T-track. Next, we need to make a sled for the actual router to sit down upon, so we get a second set of blocks, and then I just threw together a quick sled, once again using some scrap plywood that I already had laying around. Now the trick with this actual platform for the sled is to make sure that it sits down in between those top rails. That way the router bit can be plunged down far enough to reach the slab whenever we're trying to flatten something. So the scrap pine braces you see me adding for the side of this are the same height as those blocks with the bearings, which will allow the bottom platform to set down further in that center rail system. So I attached those side braces with screws, and you want to make sure that these are completely parallel whenever they're lined up. So I first only put that center screw in put the sled on the rails to make sure that they did line up parallel and slide. And then after everything was lined up and sliding smoothly, I could put those other support pieces in to make sure that this sled wasn't going to fall apart in the middle of flattening something. So at first this thing was sliding nice and smooth, but I noticed when I tried to go back to the right side there was some resistance. And it turned out that those top rails were trying to slide separately, and a very quick solution to that was to back those screws out and then just put a support board on the bottom to keep them on the same plane and parallel with each other at all times. After we have that brace on both sides, this thing was sliding flawlessly. And at this point, all we have to do is figure out a way to attach the router to that platform. Now, most routers will have some type of bottom base plate that'll let you attach screws or bolts up to the underside to mount them on a piece of plywood or a template or something like that. However, Festool is really good about making you buy their custom products. And the secondary plate that I'll be using for this router is outrageously expensive. So instead I just used some additional plywood to build a little box housing that would wedge the router right into place and keep it secure. Now honestly, I probably wouldn't recommend doing this. You're much better off to attach it up from the bottom of the platform and actually secure it into the router, but this did work. I'll probably end up getting that base plate eventually, but for now this will serve as a nice demonstration. So you trace the outline of the inside of the router where the bit will come through. Unfortunately, my camera died when I traced and cut that out. But you cut that circle out, I attach a dust collection port similarly, and then a dust brush, and here is how the router sled works. So this is an oak slab that I'm working with. I poured a little bit of epoxy on the top and some cracks, but the router sled will be set up on the matching plane of my workbench, which is completely flat. And then I make several passes, maybe taking a 1/4 inch or less off at a time, which will match the top of the workbench. So as long as your workbench is flat and level, it will repeat that plane on the slab, leveling it out. Here's a quick look at a massive 9-foot walnut slab that I'm working on to flatten out. So these were 12 inches thick. They were a little bit warped and bowed. Using this router sled does take some effort and a bit of time, but without this sled I would have absolutely no way to get these flat, so this is something that I would not be able to do without this sled. Here's a quick look at the walnut slab after it is flattened out, so now it is ready to be sanded down. If you're interested in this slab, I'll have an upcoming video on a full dining table I'm making out of slabs, so be sure to stay tuned and keep an eye out for that video. One last thing that I really like about this linear rail system is that everything detaches and is very easy to store. You can take it apart, throw it right under the workbench, and keep it out of the way. So anyways, that'll wrap it up for this video. Here's a little bit more footage of some upcoming slab tables I'm working on. This is an ash table and a walnut table in a second. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. You'll be seeing this slab jig in a lot of my upcoming videos. But anyways, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.